I know you saw the title, and I know you've also probably seen a lot of these listings in Kansas City go under contract really quickly, multiple offers over asking price. It's the wild, wild west out there. And it's even more shocking considering the entire winter we were hearing news reports of a huge, dark real estate crash. But the nation's leading, the biggest real estate property data company has just come out and said that we are behind the bottom of the market. So in this video, we'll break that down. Up first, we're discussing mortgage rates, how they'll impact you and your buying power, and the prospects of selling your home and what's to come over the next few months. Up second, we'll discuss all of the market stats that have come out from the month of March and why they're really, really deceptive, especially with what we all see is going on right now in the real estate market. And then the last part of this video, we'll dissect whether or not we're actually past the bottom of the market and what the real estate market, at least home prices in Kansas City, what they're going to do the rest of the year. Let's get started. Part number one is mortgage rates. This is the one variable that impacts everybody's prospects, whether you're buying or selling in Kansas City, because it impacts everybody's buying power, the amount they have to pay every single month. Well, luckily, and part of the reason that home prices in Kansas City seem like they're on the upward trend and all these properties are going under contract really quickly, is because mortgage rates are on a downward trend. But how long can it last? Here's a snapshot from this week that shows mortgage rates were hovering around 6.39%, which is down a whole 0.5% from early March, which is when they spiked just recently. That's why there was such a pause, because inflation was high. The federal government came in and increased interest rates, and that seems to be behind us, but we'll unpack that at the end. Now, they won't stop increasing interest rates until it comes down to below 2%, which right now we got some new data that came out earlier this week. Here's a graph that'll show you exactly where inflation is headed, or at least where it is right now. So you'll see that blue line, which looks pretty good. That's the consumer price index for all items, okay? That red line that you see that's a little bit higher than the blue, it represents the consumer price index minus any volatility in food and energy. So those are often the most volatile items, and that can cause false positives. In other words, readings in which it looks like inflation is coming down, but it's really just because of that volatility that changes month to month in food and energy. So once accounting for those two factors, it actually looks like inflation increased just a little bit, which is not very good news, especially since the Federal Reserve has already come out and said that they're going to increase interest rates. So I would expect this to cause some brief upward pressure on mortgage rates. But all in all, it seems like mortgage rates will continue declining the rest of the year, especially around November, December. That possibly might be when the federal government comes out and actually starts decreasing them. So we will see mortgage rates continue to fall, although really, really slowly, until that federal funds rate, which is what the government's increasing every single month, until they start decreasing that one. Part number two, why all of the Kansas City real estate market stats from March of this year, why they're super deceptive. So here's a picture that'll show you exactly what we're talking about. And then I'm going to take this picture down, and instead I'm going to show you my spreadsheet where I'm tracking the month-to-month changes of all of these numbers. So the reason this is so deceptive, one, is that days on market number highlighted in yellow, totally false. You're seeing the same thing I am. I've got clients asking me, what should I do? Should I buy a home now? Should I wait? Should I look at new homes? Like, all of these properties are going under contract really, really quickly. Like this one here and that one there. And of course, this one too. It's not, obviously, it's not taking those properties 43 days to sell. Now, I know you're seeing the same thing I am, the same thing that my clients are. If you've got alerts for any of these home search sites, it's like the wild, wild west out there. It seems like, it really feels like you got to sharpen your tools and get your armor ready and prepare for war. Now, the only other two numbers that actually matter, because most of this stuff is irrelevant right now, are closed and pending sales. You can see that they're pretty high. That's about as much as I'm going to say. Basically, it looks like we've got a lot of people that have returned to the housing market. A lot of this is just seasonal. A lot of this is due to the lower mortgage rates over the past few months. And it's very questionable whether this will continue. But based on everything that we see in front of us right now, it looks like that's the case. Now, if you're worried about all of this and you don't want to jump in the housing market and have to deal with bidding wars, there are 2 ways that I can help you. I'll leave the link in the description to my video from last week where we break down one of the biggest opportunities there is right now, where you don't have to deal with bidding wars, with going over the asking price, where you can totally sidestep the competition. So go check out that link in the description and then come back here to see part 3 of this video. The biggest real estate data provider in the entire country has said that we are past the bottom of the market and that home prices will grow around 3+% over the rest of the year. So in this article on Fortune.com, they break down why CoreLogic believes that to be the case. Now, CoreLogic, really quickly, they run the MLS. Our MLS is run based on CoreLogic, and this is the information that's propagated to everybody, whether you're using Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Redfin, etc. It all runs through CoreLogic. They've got all of the data. So if they're making a determination like this, it's gotta carry some weight, right? Well, here's a quote from the article that sheds some light on it. It says, after 7 consecutive months of home price declines, the CoreLogic price index detected a 0.8% home price uptick in February. They feel confident enough, CoreLogic feels confident enough to make this determination 2 months before we hear from like the gold standard of real estate predictions. So here's their reasoning for why they're making such a bold claim. It says US home prices rose by 0.8% in February, double the month-over-month increase historically seen, and indicating that home prices in most markets have already bottomed out. And the reason that they're making such a bold statement is because pent-up homebuyer demand is responding favorably to lower rates in many markets. Again, the reason that mortgage rates are so important, regardless of whether you're buying or selling a home, it's the one thing that's impacting the real estate market the most right now. Now, if we get a little bit more specific, their exact prediction is that US home prices will rise 3.7% between February 2023 and February 2024. And they give you a little bit of context saying that it would be just a hair under the 4.6 return that home prices have averaged annually since 1987. Now, here's the giant glaring issue with something like that, with a prediction like that. Is like, yes, with all of the information we've got right now, based on what's happening right now in the broader economy, is that true? Probably. But it ignores all of the wild cards that are floating up in the air, the financial hammers that could strike at any second that could cause the whole kind of unsustainable financial situation that we're in right now to come toppling down like a domino effect. I mean, just think, here's my biggest worry. Financial cycles where there are contractions and periods of growth are normal. The last big serious contraction we had was in 2008. So we have been kicking a can down the road for a very long time, to the point where it seems like we are fundamentally overdue for a huge economic contraction. That's why all of these economists are saying, look, this is bad. We're headed for something that's very bad. We don't see the signs right now. Most likely we won't see the signs until we're 3 months deep into that type of situation. Now, a couple tangible examples. For one, the banking crisis, that's a huge deal. And I know it's the government's job to come out and assure everybody and instill confidence in that system, but they have to do that. They have to basically write a huge blank check to all of these banks to prevent everybody from lining up at the bank and demanding their money back. So what we're seeing right now, is it really accurate? Is there more to this story? Is there more to come as a result of this banking crisis, or is it really all over? The second big concern is the state of the dollar, right? This talk about inflation and the weakening of the dollar. Well, it's being accelerated by Russia, China, and other BRIC countries who are trying to develop their own currency to push back against the dollar status and as a world's reserve currency. That's a big problem, regardless of how you feel geopolitically. I'm not trying to get political. Regardless of how you feel, that's going to have a negative impact on the value of our currency, and in terms of how many foreign investors feel comfortable using our currency, investing in the United States, and using our currency in foreign transactions. If all of that goes away, we could be headed down a really dark path. So I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to bring a little bit more reality into this prediction. There are a lot of wild cards that this prediction does not account for. And if you're wondering what those are and how they could potentially impact us, well, we're going to cover that in next week's video. So go ahead and subscribe so you see it, because I think what's happening in the broader economy right now is a much bigger risk to the housing market here in Kansas City than anything happening with mortgage rates, with inflation here, etc. I think it's most likely going to be an outside threat that takes down the housing market this time, if that's a situation that we end up seeing happen. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you see the video and the update next week. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, hit that like button. And of course, if you'd like to have a conversation about what all of this means, if now's a good time, what type of strategy you should prepare to get yourself in the best position to buy a home without going over asking price or getting into a deal that's just not worth it, I would love to talk with you. All of my contact info is in the description. Give me a call, text, or email, and we can hit the ground running. Thank you for watching the video. I will see you on the next one.